In episode 20, Black Beet and Juuko lead a plan for a major volcano eruption. The Beet fighters manage to stop them, but quick side note, Guru comes back and throws down with Juuko in a battle of spellwits and owns her. Like, just putting it out there, the bug can kick ass when he needs to. And towards the end of the episode, Juuko retreats back to the Jamal. Yeah. Black Beet kills her. Just looked at her and said, "Yeah, you brought me to life. Now time to die." Yeah. Black Beet gives no fucks. And he's not giving them out at the soup kitchen. Like, that's that Shadow Moon level-ish I'm talking about there. Just no chill. And so, in episode 22, behind the scenes, Ray's actress had to leave the show due to a neck injury she had received, and therefore she was written off. So in show, Ray had left the team to transfer to Earth Academia's South America branch to help preserve the wildlife there that's been facing extinction because of Jamal, and replacing her is a girl named Mai, who turns out, well, who was out hiking and came across the new weapons for the team, the pulse sabers. We actually haven't gotten to talk about their weapons yet, so let's do that now. I'll say this, I like the drill that Blue gets later, and you want to know an interesting idea I actually had about that drill? Because it's just an attachment, what would have been cool is if they shared it, because Blue Beet is usually the one who sends the final blow to the monster, and it just would have been nice if maybe the team got to use it for this new escalation of a threat. It's just to further the idea of teamwork. And I know the last time I complained about something shared amongst the team was in Cure Major with their power-up, but the difference would be that the concept would be no different than Super Mode from Shinkenger, as opposed to everyone getting a new fancy armor, yet they only get one bow to share amongst the 5 of them. Ugh. But other than that, I really like the drill arm. Their other weapons, well, their first weapons are nice too, and are like straight up arm attachments. Like Blue Beet gets that arm blade, G-Stag the claw, and arm blaster. Nah, they're not bad, but I do like G-Stag's finisher name when he uses his stinger claw, the Raging Slash. I was all for it for Daisaku's first focus episode. When he said that name, I was like, hell yeah, Raging Slash, that's awesome. Also, and their new weapons, the pulse sabers, they're not sabers, they're daggers. And that kind of makes me wish that daggers were seen a bit more in Toku nowadays, because daggers are cool weapons. And so, in episode 24, along with the new pulse sabers, was a new beat machine for the team that got lost in a transport attack thanks to Schwartz. And the only way to find it was through the pulse sabers, because those and the new beat machine carry the spirit of the Hercules beetle. But before we get to Mega Hercules, I want to talk about before then. Like, Gigaro is attacking the city by himself and captures the beat machines and sends them in an interdimensional prison. So yeah, before Mega Hercules comes in, they're pretty screwed for a moment, until the professor finds Mega Hercules' location and tells the team, go now and come back with the machine. I really like this episode, and one of the highlights of this episode is this team. The dedication of those three I need a glass of water before I say it. This is empty. Oh well, I'll just say it. Fuck Power Rangers Megaforce. Like, in all sincerity, fuck Power Rangers Megaforce. Because I believe the severity of the situation right here, right now, and I believe these people. From the very start, with 2 out of 3 of them, since Mai is still new, we have seen 3 people act proactively through their occupations about preserving life and the environment. What more dedication to the job could you ask for as they consider still fighting to slow down the destruction? It takes the professor having to go out on the field himself to tell them to get their asses there. I'm sorry, I had to talk about that because this episode was epic and everything leading up to Mega Hercules did it perfectly. And all in the span of 1 episode. Like, usually for a new type of mech introduction, it takes up the span of 2 episodes, but this did it perfectly in 1. And speaking of which, Mega Hercules. It looks cool. It looks cool. The colors on it are fly. The horn could actually come off to be a jet fighter, and that's lit. And it's a cool looking mech. And the 3 beat machines could climb on top of it to form the Mega Beet cannon, which is also nice because, well, it doesn't do anything too different. It just opens itself up for the beat machines to pile on top of it, and now cannon. But you know, really enough, you know what this reminds me of? That one formation of the Zeo Ultrazord where Pyramidas is laying down and all the Zeozords and the Red Battlezord are just piled right on top of him, riding. That's not a combination we saw very often, and I wish it was utilized more, because I really liked how it looked. But yeah, the cannon, it's nice. So, episode 35, we get a visit from an interdimensional door-to-door salesman whose adaptation was completely different when making Big Bad Beetleborgs. He is the extra-dimensional supplier Kabuto, and Guru's son, and to no surprise, to be funny, father and son do not get along. And to be fair, Schwartz was using a device to turn people against the Beet Fighters, and Kabuto believed it out of context, more or less. But let's talk about his look, since he is similar enough to the Beet Fighters, literally. Actually, not even quite. I really like Kabuto's look. Like, we don't see a lot of white nowadays in Toku, and I wish we saw that more. Especially since, like, if this suit was in Power Rangers, he would definitely be a 6th Ranger, because he looks so royal and awesome. And, I don't know, I think that's all I really have to say. I really like this suit. And this had most stuff. Words. This is most definitely my favorite suit from this show. But yeah, like I said, white's not a color we see so very often, and if this was in Power Rangers, it would be a 6th Ranger. And honestly, a nice break too, because for the past few years, all we've had for 6th Rangers were gold and silver. And we used to get white 6th Rangers, but not anymore. Like, it was nice seeing Zen Kaiser, but he wasn't a 6th Ranger. But it was still nice to see that color again. And so, also in this episode, Kabuto was carrying a gun with him that is meant to... The gun was meant for the champion of universes and a true hero. To such avail, the gun chooses Blue Beet as its user. And in episode 36... Blue Beet takes it upon himself to evolve with the influence of the gun, the Beet Engram, to become Super Blue Beet. And Super Blue Beet is honestly no different from regular Blue Beet, except now he has wings. To which I'm trying to remember and think right now, does he ever use those wings to fly? Because because Super Blue Beet just comes out for a finisher, and yeah, like, that's really all there is to the suit. He gets wings and other attachments to him. Moving on. And at the end of the episode, Kabuto and Guru visit Guru's wife's grave, and Kabuto leaves the train, and he'll come back whenever he does. Meaning the final 2 episodes. And so, episode 40, a being named Muscle comes from the Germa dimension to look for something called Saint Papilia, which is a legendary energy or power that bestows immortality. Like, Muscle wants it because he's dying due to injuries he still carries from a previous conflict with Jamal. And by the end, however, Muscle dies, and now Lord Gaum wants Saint Papilia and orders his forces to seize their conquest for Earth. So yes, we are now touching the endgame. And why does Gaum want Saint Papilia? It's revealed later that he's dying and wants to be immortal. And so, episode 41, it's a filler episode, but what makes me want to talk about it is the focus on the villains. The generals have shown from time and time again that they're not generic. They're close to archetypes, sure, but this show bothers to give them backstory and depth to them. As ridiculous as it sounds, the monster of the week here is an early creation of Schwartz's that he treats like a little brother.
You just need a daddy.
And they both show to care for each other like actual brothers. It's always a case when humans without a human appearance don't get as much depth as villains that look human. Because, like, once they start conveying, it's hard to pin emotions to a mask. But this episode did it. The dialogue, the setting, the mood, it's a thumbs up. Even after the monster dies, because it decided to self-destruct and take the bee fighters out with him, Schwartz was with him and was willing to the very end until Aniki pulled him out of him and explodes. Like, ooh. This was a Daisaku focus episode anyway, because after learning about Saint Papilia, he is set on go, go, go to stop Gaum's plans. And originally, he wanted to capture Schwartz and torture him to learn about Gaum's plans. But instead, he holds Schwartz at gunpoint and holsters his gun, telling him, for now, take your time to mourn. This episode was fantastic. Did anyone die? Yes. But it was the nuance that makes this episode. Had a silly start, but it did something with it. Because most of the monsters that the generals have are either creations or allies from previous conflicts. And they show to care for each other, like, heaven forbid, professional relationships between employers and employees.
Inconceivable!
Episode 43. Black Beet and Takia have had a rivalry ever since that one filler episode where they're both fighting out of suit. The reason why I didn't bring it up earlier is because, well, the rest of the episode doesn't really go anywhere, except for having one small plot point. When Black Beet strikes Takia somewhere on the chest, he feels the pain too, in the same area and everything. That is a really bizarre and pretty ridiculous way to show how intertwined they are, because after that episode, a moment like that never happens again, even after they fight each other. But in this episode, Gaum's new plan is to freeze the planet so that Saint Papilia will show itself. And while the bee fighters are contending to the generals, Black Beet shows up to fight, and Takia soon puts together why Black Beet is obsessed with him. And it ties back to when he was created. When the longhorn beetle bit Takia, it was so the being could possess a body and an appearance. And the appearance is of a copy of Takia. And it's not the actor playing both roles. If you're a Sentai fan, then you're more familiar with the actor Daisuke Tsuchiya's twin brother, Keisuke Tsuchiya, who is more known for playing Kazu of the Heavenly Time Star from Gosei Sentai Dairanger. They planned this from the jump and managed to get his brother involved, making the surprise all the better. Because there are two Takiyas, one has to go, and the pain won't go away until they do. Although, kudos for foreshadowing it too, because that explains why whenever you see Black Beet out of suit, he's just wearing all clothes and a hat to cover his face. Even when he transforms too, with his hat down saying, Juuko. This looks awesome. And so, episode 44. After learning that Black Beet is his clone, Takia quits the Beet Fighters, blaming himself for the creation of Black Beet. And he really beats himself up over it, but it's not his fault. He blames himself as if he was in the lab creating Black Beet, and he wasn't. He was just as used as Black Beet. He also meanders around while Daisaku and Mai are looking for him. So which I think is a little strange, because doesn't he have a motorcycle? Or better yet, doesn't he have a house where they can go? Well, I guess considering his attitude, he wouldn't want to be at home if he didn't want to be found. But yeah, doesn't he have a motorcycle? So why is he just walking around wherever? Anywho, episode 46. Jamal's final plan is to bring to life the Jamal Hole, a black hole that'll absorb and kill anything that's Earth. And by doing so, Saint Papilia would hopefully arrive to restore Earth, and that's when Gom will catch it. But in order to start up the Jamal Hole, Jamal needs a lot of energy to do so. So Schwartz takes care of the energy absorbing part, while Gigaro takes on a new form. Now, about this new form, it makes me think about what each of the villains are based off of, because they all are pretty, like, their motifs wise are what I'm trying to get at. Like, considering Gigaro's new form and his old one, I want to say he's possibly based around sea creatures. With Schwartz, he seems like he's based off of the stereotypical mad scientist. And Jera, she's the most out there, because I want to say the Phantom of the Opera. Because, like, look at her appearance. It's a white mask and human arms. And even when she takes all that off, she has a human appearance. So, at least that's why I say Phantom of the Opera. And so, episode 47, Takia finally gets over himself and rejoins the team. And in battle, wait, Schwartz can turn himself into a Zaku tank?
This is no Zaku, boy. No Zaku.
Daisaku and Mai use the beat machines and destroy Schwartz, all while Takia goes super blue beat to kill Gigaro. And while his attack was effective, Gaum comes in and absorbs the rest of Gigaro's life to use for the Jamal Hole.
Such a dick!
Now disillusioned by Jamal, Jera decides to team up with Black Beet so that they both get what they want. Episode 48, Schwartz is back having survived, except now he's a floating head who's been out kidnapping people. My god, Schwartz is recruiting teenagers with attitude. And by the end, they beat Schwartz. So, episode 49, Gaum manages to abduct Guru and brainwash him to tell the insects of the world to use their energy for the Jamal Hole. You know, you'd think from episode 1, insects have shown to have enough comprehension to know good from evil. And yet this time, they don't bother to think twice about that? Just really? The Beet Fighters manage to stop them, and Gaum uses the Jamal Fortress instead to convert energy into the whole. Why didn't you just do that earlier? So, episode 50, seeing Black Beet's condition getting worse, Jera decides to abandon him to defeat Gaum herself, and she fails. But you want to know something that's strange? Up to now, Jera's human appearance has been a Japanese woman wearing all red. But when she's dying, she's a blonde white woman wearing her alien clothes. I don't get that at all. And I don't think the wiki will ever explain that. And by the end, they beat Schwartz. So, episode 49, Gaum manages to abduct Guru and brainwash him to tell the insects of the world to use their energy for the Jamal Hole. You know, you'd think from episode 1, insects have shown to have enough comprehension to know good from evil. And yet this time, they don't bother to think twice about that? Just really? The Beet Fighters manage to stop them, and Gaum uses the Jamal Fortress instead to convert energy into the whole. Why didn't you just do that earlier? So, episode 50, seeing Black Beet's condition getting worse, Jera decides to abandon him to defeat Gaum herself, and she fails. The sweetest moment that caps off the episode is Takia taking Black Beet's bee commander and necklace and throws it in the ocean as a way to send Black Beet to rest in peace. Honestly, I wouldn't have done that and kept it because I want to transform into Shadowborg. Anywho. So, that still doesn't end the show. But yeah, Jamal is defeated. So, episodes 52 and 53. The Beet Fighters team up with their Metal Hero predecessors, Blue SWAT, John Person, and John Person's partner, Gun Gibson. They were all apparently called to get together by Kabuto. To which, first off, where has he been? Because he could have been extremely useful these past 7 episodes. And they were all called together to put on a show for kids, I guess, to celebrate Jamal's defeat. Like, this 2-parter feels kind of unnecessary. And it's definitely because of the pacing. Because, well, there's nothing wrong with the team up, but considering the last episode where we just wrapped up everything, like having this literally here, it looks like they did this just to make the show longer. And to add on to it, the villain of the episode 2 is Jagul, to which so many episodes back, Black Beet killed her right there in point blank. So how did she survive? This team up really, I definitely think it's because of the placement of it. Like, if this happened somewhere before the end game, then sure, maybe I would be more impressed by it. But it's just that coming off of the last episode, episode 51, that did it. Like, the fighting is finally over. Now, peace is brought back and everything. Then we get this, and it's like, huh? Now, I'm going to say a message to you, the ones or the one watching this video right now, because I will say something. I like this show. I'm glad that I got to like this show. And now that it's fully subbed, I want to give you a piece of advice. Do not watch the last 2 episodes. If you want full satisfaction, just watch up to episode 51. because 52 and 53 are cheap fan service. So, yeah, just pretty much that. I like this show, and I would like you all to enjoy this show too. So literally, watch up to episode 51, then stop there. Then you'll feel satisfaction. And so yeah, that's the show. And I'm getting hungry, so let's now get to the character analysis. So, Takia. I like Takia, but I feel like compared to everyone else, he got the least to do. Like, he had his rivalry with Black Beet, sure. But aside from that, he is an inventor, he is an entomologist. He's also quite compassionate. So, he's definitely not a bad leader, nor a bad character. I just feel like, well, let me say that again. Well, Takia is just a good character. He's a good leader, he knows when to be serious, and when to dial back his compassion. I just feel like he didn't get enough compared to everyone else. Like, for example, Daisaku. Daisaku, on the other hand, is fun. He has plenty of focus episodes, which either go on... Well, for one, he's good with kids. And two, the fact that he's a tree conservationist. Like, he's fun, he's energetic, I want to say he's the most dedicated to the job. Not just as an arborist, but also as a bee fighter. And, like, he knows how to be fun. Like, his first focus episode where there's this company that wants to tear down a forest, and he's fully against it, so much that he quits being a bee fighter. Like, I understand where he's coming from, though that still doesn't mean he doesn't have times where he's foolish. And the funniest thing about Daisaku 2 is that you could honestly call him a tree hugger and he wouldn't be offended. Like, call him a hippie or a tree hugger, he'll probably just brush it off. So yeah, Daisaku's cool, and why wouldn't he be? It's Mega Silver. One more thing about Daisaku 2. He kind of reminds me of, like, Leo from Zyuohger, with how loud he is, except it's not as intentionally obnoxious. So next, Rei. Rei was a nice character, sad to see her go, but it was something, well, the neck injury and all. But for what we got of Rei, she's actually quite nice. She loves animals, she's compassionate, considerate towards others, sympathetic. She was not a bad heroine. I also really liked her first focus episode too, where she's almost going to disappear because of a monster of the week. And instead of not telling anyone about it, they caught on immediately and decide to do something about it. So, that was nice. And now, as for her replacement, Mai might have to be my favorite character from this show, and here is why. She came into this role and made it her own, and she was so different from Takia and Daisaku, mainly because she's willing to talk out of a fight first before deciding to fight, because oh my god, I still remember her first focus episode. There's this one monster attacking them, and she decides to talk it out with the monster, and basically convince him that you don't have to do this. And the monster totally agrees with her. But sadly, towards the end, the monster was turned into a mindless being, and she had to put it down. So, kudos. Like, it's very rare to see anyone, it's rare to see characters try to talk it out, as opposed to just deciding, no, we're just gonna fight about this. Especially between the good guys and the villains. Like, the closest that we would ever get to is, like, KamenRider Gaim with Mai there. But this Mai, she's smart, she's compassionate, And she looks for options first before deciding for violence. And I respect and appreciate that so much. She came into this role as a replacement, but it eventually feels like she was naturally there from the start. And I appreciate it so much. This last one, I'm not too sure. Well, that's not true. I kind of want to talk about him, if only because, once again, how he was adapted into Beetleborgs. Kabuto. He came in too late. And honestly, I wish they did more with him. And I know they most likely... He basically served the purpose of giving the leader his power-up, and that's it. But, yeah, he was there. He's Guru's son. He's a bit of a goofy goober, and that's about it. Which sucks, because I do like how he looks, and I wish we saw more of his suit. This show is fantastic. I definitely recommend seeing this show. Because, hell, if you like or disliked Big Bad Beetleborgs, trust me, watch its source material and you'll have a completely different opinion on it. And before anyone asks, about Beat Fighter Kabuto, I definitely want to check that show out, but I don't think Tokuzilla has it fully subbed yet. It does have it subbed, but from last I remember, it went up to episode 24, if I'm right. Let me check and see. Oh, yeah, I'm right. Only up to episode 24. And as much as I would want to watch those episodes, it's there's kind of no point if the show's not fully subbed. And who knows when that'll be. Because I think the group Metallic Subs is working on it. But something for another time then. Speaking of which, of another time, next time in October, the next show I will definitely be reviewing because it's been a long time since I've seen it. Maho Sentai Magi Ranger. Kind of wish right now I had some toys from Power Rangers Mystic Force because I do like that more fur. But yeah, Magi Ranger. That's the next review for October, the month of Halloween. And with that said, thank you guys for watching. And I really mean, thank you guys for watching. All these videos up to now, from all the reviews, the talks, everything, they're fun. And hopefully I'll see you for the next video, whatever that will be. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share this video, tell your friends about KamenRider Blackman, and happy 4th anniversary.